episode of
Hot Tub Time Machine, the podcast,
where we talk about
fun topics and
childhood trauma.
Yay!
Slash memories.
Today we will be discussing
ghost stories. Fun fact about ghost stories, Melissa and I both are believers, and my husband is absolutely not a believer. What about, no, I feel like your husband is a believer.
I think my husband is a scaredy cat.
My husband is a naysayer completely, so it's a little bit difficult, but also he has instructions.
And if you're quite surprised that we're actually married, put a like. Because, yeah, we did convince 2 people. Yeah.
Lucky guys. Okay, who's gonna go first?
Oh.
I'm really interested in your ghost story. Are you doing one or more than one?
I've had so many encounters, and
I want to hear about
I am
these
the
and
worst.
remember
I'm like,
them.
I don't want this. I'm not like, oh, I love it. I hate it.
So I'll talk about mine first then.
Sure.
Okay. So I had an experience when I was young, but I was too young to kind of remember it, and we have family that are up north, and so we didn't get to visit them as often. We didn't get to know them. They're on my dad's side, and we have tons of aunts and uncles. So when we would go, they're French, so when we would go visit our maman and papa, a lot of people, there's always a lot of people in and out. Our dad is one of 9, one of 8, one of 9. And then there's my grandparents. So there was a lot of people, at that time. Our grandparents had their siblings still, so we didn't recognize who was in and out. And we would, obviously it would be a get together in the home. So lots of times we would fall asleep on the couch or what have you. And so
Picture this. It's the mid-'80s. We're in Northern Ontario. Everyone is smoking. Everyone is in a tiny little family home. Relatives in and out. We see these people maybe once a year, and we're definitely...
beef jerky everywhere.
Definitely under 10. Everyone looks the same. Creepily so. So you don't know who's who. You know everyone's your family. You were how old?
Oh gosh.
8?
6,
8?
Very, very small.
So I would have been a toddler / a toddler.
I can't remember if this was before or after our parents' divorce. In fact, I don't have so much recollection. Pops, Daddykins remembers a little bit more of it. It's too early for me to actually remember to be scared about this. I apparently saw my great-grandfather. I was asleep on a couch at my grandparents'. He was in a chair in the corner. I can still remember, and we're talking 80s, like green, what was that material? Plush couch, like whatever, the green, but he was in a rocking chair, and I just looked over and I sat up. I must have been really little, like I'm gonna say 4, like you might have been a baby, like I sat up, and he just said shh, and I went down.
Oh!
Yeah.
Ew, God.
And so I didn't think anything of it, go to sleep, and it was only until, when you go there, and again, we didn't get there a lot because it's far away from where we lived, so we would maybe go there once a year. So, photo albums get brought out and pictures, and I, just remember saying, oh, he was here last night, and no, he wasn't. That's Papa or so-and-so. And that was not something that scared me. And so growing up, I have always been a scaredy cat, worried about jump scares, anxious kid, can't play Operation with the buzzer in, all that. So I never really faced any fears. I definitely would have a respect for the paranormal, but never had any encounters. I wouldn't say I'm an empath, anything like that. So let's fast forward to the pandemic. We were supposed to go to Kingston and go to a concert, and that got canceled 2020. So we were staying at a specific hotel there. So that gets canceled. Fast forward to 2021 of April. We're going to go back to the inn. I'm going to get proposed to by my now husband that gets canceled because of COVID. So we end up not being able to make this specific trip to this specific hotel that my now husband was so excited for us to go to. We're in Kingston. Kingston is a ghosty town.
It's a historical place.
Right? There are ghost walks all over and stuff like that. Again, I don't pay attention. So we're staying, and we will insert all the information at the Hochelaga Inn. My husband's so excited because he has reserved us the tower room. So we get into this room, and it's absolutely beautiful. And it's a gorgeous, you know, Victorian looking room. You got the bathroom here, and then off to the side there's this octagon full of windows, wood plank flooring. You've got an old chessboard, an old chess table on top and everything like that, and a ladder. And when you go up, windows all around, you have a really beautiful view, and they had some bean bags up there and everything. Absolutely gorgeous room. So it was great. So the first night that we were there in Kingston, we might have overindulged a little bit too much. So when we came home, it was just like I don't even remember going to bed. Like, so there was no activity that night, or none that I witnessed. But the next night, being that we're old, we kind of tamed it down a little bit. So we just went to a steakhouse, had a nice meal, and then we just went back to the hotel to kind of just have it just a night in. It's like a bed and breakfast. Like, the whole hotel it's like old Victorian vibes. They make you breakfast, and you sit in these like garden rooms, and it's really gorgeous. So we go up to our room and everything, and in order to sleep, I need to be listening to like a podcast or a video or something. So I have always, I think at the time I had an AirPod in, so I am listening to something. Something is playing, but I get awoken right at witching hour, so it was like 3 a.m. and this time means really nothing to me, but I instantly hear somebody walking, footsteps in the other room. So at first I'm not scared. I'm thinking it's my husband. Then my husband is beside me, so it's not. So then I'm starting to wake up, and I hear the steps, and then I hear somebody climbing up the ladder and down the ladder, and I am now frozen in fear, and my eyes are closed. I'm paralyzed with fear, and this literally happened for over an hour, and this was over and above, like,
Did you try to wake up your husband?
I didn't move because I was afraid that it would know that I was awake.
Ooh.
So I didn't move. I wouldn't even. So this is what happened. So I was paralyzed in fear, keeping my eyes closed. I would not open them because I was so afraid of seeing what was there. But it was unmistakable walking up the up and down the ladder. And you could hear it. The footsteps. It was. I can't explain it. And again, nothing paranormal was ever on my radar before this point. So finally, my husband gets up to go to the bathroom like an hour later. So immediately when he does that, I shift and I put my back and I put the other AirPod in to turn around so that like he was awake. So I do that, thinking, okay, maybe this is going to go away and it's not going to come back. So this carries on for a little bit longer. Same thing starts again. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. So
Where's husband at this point?
Husband had come back to bed.
And you didn't say anything? You were just like,
no. I didn't want to talk because, again, I had been hearing it and I was so scared that this thing would know that I recognized it, right? Like, I was trying to, it's so crazy, but I'm trying to seem like I don't recognize it, that I didn't wake up or something. So I just moved over, and this thing, it did happen, but not too long. I remember seeing dawn. I remember hearing workers, and like there was nobody beside the room, like because of this tower, like it's not like we had a room beside us. When we wake up, I tell my husband, and you know what? He laughs about it and tells people, and I was embarrassed because he's a non-believer. So he laughed and everything, and it wasn't until I went to my friends in the PD that I told her about it, and she looked it up, and guess what? One of the most haunted inns in Canada, in Ontario.
Imagine if that was your
And
engagement story.
That specific room is known. So it's the tower room. So I will post a little bit
At
in
least
there.
you didn't get engaged that night, and then you were like, oh, God.
I've done a deep dive, and this is where, and I think that maybe because I was so scared, but this is where it turned from a fear, and I have a fear, but now I have a fascination, because I watch every single YouTube investigation that there is now, and I absolutely have absorbed it. So that's what I do. I watch those investigations, and I see them, and I look at them, and I'm fascinated. So we have a trip booked in October.
Are you going back?
No, we're
Okay.
going to Seattle. So my husband knows now that whenever he books us something, I have to have, and there have been times where I was like, no, absolutely not, that's haunted, and I have canceled a reservation or made him look further, because I'm like, no, that's haunty vibes, right? And so so he knows the check, so he sends me, he's like, okay, we're all booked, this is absolutely not haunted. And I take a look at it, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, what? I Google. So, friends, my hotel stay is one of the most haunted hotels in the place that we're going.
Wait, that's where you're going next?
Yeah,
God.
and it's the top 10 haunted hotels in all of the U.S. So I'm not going to say where we're going, and I will talk about it when I get back, and we'll see what happens.
Why
So
is this what you're spending your money on? Seems like a poor choice.
the problem is that I did want to cancel, but he was just like, this is the best, it's the best location. It's the best location for where we are, so we'll see how I make it through. So that's fine.
Do you ever look at MLS photos and you're like, that's haunted? That's haunted.
Yes.
Yeah, 100%.
When we were looking at new homes, like even
That's
to buy,
always my biggest fear. Like, does this feel haunted?
do you know that there's actually we found one that on the listing it actually said is not haunted.
Yeah, that's important.
People do believe in it, and I know if you don't believe in it, you think that this is malarkey. But
let me tell
yeah.
my malarkey now. So
Okay.
my first malarkey story is this is like 1990, I feel. Step grandmother died. She had just died, and like maybe a week prior-ish, 3 days prior-ish. This was right when she died, and basically
So we're talking Kingston.
no, not Kingston.
What's step grandmother?
Oh, she lived in Kingston. Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, this
okay,
didn't happen
okay.
in Kingston.
Okay.
So, I was getting ready in my parents' ensuite, my mom and my stepdad, and
The court.
in the court.
Okay.
And I had my head over and I was drying my hair, and my mom came in and she was wearing she had a yellow and a blue terry cloth robe, like for after a shower. So she came in and she was like touching my hair as I was
She was
blow drying
crinking
it,
it up?
crinking it up type of thing, like no worries. So then she leaves, and then she comes back in, and she's wearing a different color robe. And I was like, why would you change your robe? And she's like, oh, I wasn't just in here. And then I found out from, I don't think I found it at the time, but I found out later from my aunt that my grandmother had visited her dream and had said something to the effect of, about things she had left behind or something. And the robe that the person who had touched my hair was her robe. And so it was not.
That's weird. I don't remember that.
Yeah. So that was when I was young. Obviously I wasn't scared because I thought it was
Yeah.
my mom. A lot of my encounters, I think it's, I'm always like, oh, it's fine, and then it's not fine.
Yeah.
So then my next encounter was, so I had bought my first home, and it was a link home, and we were attached to the house next door. And the person who lived next door to us, he went from doing okay to really going off the deep end.
Sure.
He was really, really doing bad. So there was kind of like negative vibes. And it was around this time I had babies. I think I had a 3-year-old and a 1.5-year-old and a baby. and it was. I remember it was Halloween, and the 3-year-old went from fine to like screaming with an ear infection. So my husband came home from work and took her to the walk-in. I had the 2 babies, and it was like a stormy, raining Halloween, which it always storms and rains here. And I remember there had been some going ons, and I remember being scared. We had one of those baby monitors that was just sound only.
Because our babies were a little bit older. I don't even think that the other ones were even around. Were they? Like the video ones, or?
I think it was like rich people had them.
Yeah.
But I had a very small house, so I really didn't need a baby monitor. I could really hear my babies if they were crying. And I didn't have one long after this. And I remember I must have had the 3-year-old with me, because I remember hearing something over the monitor. It was like saying, like a voice saying like something. And I remember, like, a lot of things, like, I'm the type that will just ignore it and be like, oh, that's not happening.
Play it off, or
that's not happening, because I don't want to deal with it. But I remember the little one with me being like, who's that? And I was like, oh, so you heard that too. At this time, I actually had worked for a cell phone company, and I got a message on my phone. And it was a message where no one had called me, but I had gotten the message. And it showed that it was forwarded from my husband, and it was forwarded at, like, say it was 10 p.m. at night, because it was a time where he would have been asleep, because he gets up really early. And the message was a lot of like, and then you heard like a voice say something, and I didn't, what I thought it said was something pretty sinister. So I have this message, and I'd listened to it. A couple days later, we had friends over, and I had my friends listen to it, because I didn't want to say, well, do you think it said this? I wanted them to let me know what you think this says. And she's like, that message said kill yourself. Or it was either that or I'm going to kill you. I can't remember, because we're talking like 10 years ago. And she was like, you need to shut that down. Like, this is crazy. Then a couple days later, I got the same thing. It was a forwarded message. It was the same, like 10 o'clock for my husband, where he had not called me and he was definitely home. That message, my husband wouldn't even let me listen to it. He listened to it, and he listened for a long time, and he erased it, and he would not let me hear it. But I'm assuming it was along the same lines.
So we still don't know what that second message said.
No, he's a scaredy cat too. So then what he did end up doing was he ended up blessing the house and going around and praying over I was going to get like someone to come in, but he was like, oh, I'll just do it. So that was what happened when the kids were little. Then we went to your friend's house for your bachelorette weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful house, like it was in like a beach town.
Mm-hmm.
The house was so cute. It was like very feminine, like flowers everywhere, like super welcoming space.
She put a lot of work into it, but it was an old cottage. When she bought it, it was a cottage from an older lady. And I can't remember if the lady had passed and it was sold by her children. I think that maybe that would happen. But I don't believe that the lady passed in the house, but it was an old cottage vibe, and she really updated it.
It was very welcoming,
but it's an old house. Yeah,
like
yeah.
It wasn't scary.
Yeah.
So the first night we had just like gone out for dinner, had a couple drinks. So I'm like sleeping on this couch, and there was like a screen and porch situation where like a couple of friends were sleeping, and I'm laying down to go to sleep for the night, and one of our friends comes over, and she kind of does like one of these. And I was just like, okay, like
there were drinks were flowing,
drinks are flowing, whatever. And then I come to find out the next day, like, no, that wasn't me. And then for the friend to say, we definitely have a spirit in the house, and his name is.
It was she named it Carl, and this is the same friend that did the research for the Hochelaga Inn. So this friend of mine, and I would love to maybe one day get her. She is an empath, and so she absolutely has had run-ins, and it's very weird because the energy that she did have a medium into that house.
Oh.
And this is her story, but I'll just add to that a little bit. She had bad vibes about it, and she always would not even go in. She still won't go into her basement. And the basement is like undone. It's just from the kitchen. She absolutely has never gone down there, and she has really, really horrible vibes from it. And so she has seen this um, male energy figure that feels like he's done, like it feels bad. It's a bad presence, bad this and that. And so she did have a medium come in. And so when the medium came in, the medium was like, oh no, like you're good, and did some things or whatever. And the medium leaves. And then the medium calls her and says, what had happened is that her spirit guide was hiding, was protecting her and protecting her from the bad energy that was in that house. She told her she needed to move. She's like, the energy is so bad. She goes, my spirit guides were hiding it from me that I couldn't see it until I came out of the house. So that happened, but I'll tell you something. My girlfriend got into a really, really horrible relationship. Really, really bad. And this guy was the most evil of evil. And it's not my story to tell, but he was evil. But I'll tell you something. When she was finally rid of him, she has not seen that negative energy. She has not felt it since. There's been nothing but peace in that house.
So hopefully it left with him.
It left. That's exactly what she thinks, is that he took the spirit.
Well,
Yeah,
fun fact,
crazy.
I found out that it wasn't our friend touching me the next morning, and that the house was haunted, and I had to stay an additional evening. It was not a great sleep. I didn't like it. So, fast forward to present day. So now we have my husband and I have a 3-year-old, and he will come into my room. Usually he wakes me up, and it's like the situation where you're waking up and there's a 3-year-old in front of you because he's come in to say, like, I have to go to the bathroom, or like, hello, I'm awake, whatever. So like maybe 2 weeks ago, I like woke up out of a dead sleep, like one of those wake ups where you're like, what? And he was sitting at the edge of my bed. I'm like, what are you doing in here? Why are you awake? And I was kind of like, not sweet mummy, because I was just been woken up. And as I'm talking to him, he disappears. I'm like, what? Go back to sleep. Again, so that was like in the middle of the night. So my husband was there. Then again, like I wake up and he's like kind of like in front of my door. And I'm like, okay, like, do you have to go to the bathroom? Because that's like, and I hadn't have been asleep this time. I was awake, because usually I am awake a little bit before him, and because like my body wakes up, I know he wakes up at the same time every day. So I'm like, okay, like, do you have to go to the bathroom? Because that's always like my first thing is like I send him to the bathroom, and again like disappears, and I get up and his door's closed. He's asleep. So I'm like, oh.
Did you check to see what time it was?
I was already awake the first time. The first time I was asleep, no I didn't, but the second time I'd already been awake. So it was in the morning, like 7 o'clock in the morning.
Okay, weird.
Like you usually would have been awake around this time. So it made perfect sense for him to be there.
Yeah.
Didn't make perfect sense that he disappeared and then he was asleep. And then so this was like 3 days ago. I was so my husband went and he took all of our older kids. Where did they go? They went to the store for something. Oh, they went to get groceries and went to the laundromat. And my little one's asleep, and I'm sitting there working because I work from home, and my bedroom door just does, like, I see my cat sitting there, the bedroom door just does one of these. And I was just like, what?
One debunk for that you said possibly is that your cat could have launched itself.
I'm hoping it was my cat. So basically, my cat's here. This is the thing, though. This is what scared me, because like I feel like sometimes a cat will like open the door and you'll kind of see them put their body through and the door open a little bit. But this was kind of like a, and I feel like I locked eyes with the damn cat and I just watched it open. That's why I was like, oh god.
Well, I feel
But
like
I'm hoping that somehow the cat did it somehow. But I just, because this is how I sleep. I need to think that because I'm alone a lot by myself.
Well, there's an ongoing saga here, friends, that we can monitor.
Well, I was like, I've got to sage the house. Yeah. I have had someone come that this person has come to my house before, and they are like into that type of thing. And they did say to me one time, like, you're gonna go on a trip. You're gonna go on a trip this time, and you're not going with your family. You're going on a trip with like someone else. And I was like, oh, that doesn't sound correct. Like, why would I go on And then we did go on a trip because we had a family member pass away. And I didn't bring my family because it was just
We didn't bring the whole family.
we just went with a couple people, so the person was correct, and they had pinpointed that and everything else. So that person did come to my house, and they did say, "I see a spirit in your house. You need to sage this house." And then they described the spirit to me, and I was like, "That sounds shitty."
So, so yeah, because from what did they explain for that spirit? Because really you only need to sage, because if it's a spirit of a young boy, now, and I don't want to scare you, because sometimes there are.
Do not say it's a demon. God.
So if they said that there's a spirit that you need to sage, that means there's negative energy. If it's not negative energy, you don't need to sage the house, but you should probably just to.
I'm gonna sage the house.
Yeah, sage it just for like anything that's negative, like negative energy that goes and stuff. And then yeah, like good luck to that.
It's like, yeah, I'm not into it. I don't like people touching me for sure.
Yeah.
And it's bad because, like, if I don't have my glasses on, like, I can't see anything.
Yeah.
So all I can see is that, like, it's someone that's the size of
That's
my son.
and that's the same. We both have really bad eyesight, so that's the same.
So
in my situation, I didn't have my glasses or my contacts in, so and that's one of the reasons why I kept my eyes shut, because like I didn't know, and like that is a huge fear. So we will stay tuned to see how that is.
Gross.
And go with that. But
on a lighter note, let's get into the childhood trauma.
Yay!
Okay, so on to the childhood trauma for a little bit of a lighter twist.
We say trauma and then we say lighter twist. That's an oxymoron. We're talking about childhood memories.
Yeah.
Fun facts about our growing up.
Yeah, a little insight to who we were when we were youngins.
Yeah.
And this was when I wasn't quite a youngin. I was. So basically, our parents got divorced when I was quite young, and then they got remarried, and then my mom got divorced again when I was 18. So when I was 18, we were like living in this little basement apartment, just her and I. It was like
yeah, because I think I had my first kid by that time. Because I'm 4 years older.
No, you had your kid after, because we moved to Whitby after.
Oh, I was living in that basement apartment.
Yeah, you were living on your own. Broski was living on his own, so I was living with mom, dealing with post-divorce mom. She was an angel. And so she had decided, and this was like, I want to say this was 2000. Like,
was this in the basement? So this was in, so just to set this up, we went from a big house that we all lived in, which was probably a little bit
like a McMansion.
Yeah, and so then to go from that to your friend's basement, that's an ordeal, I guess, that you'd have to deal with.
Yes. Yeah, so we lived there together, and basically she had discovered online dating. She's on ICQ.
So what would ICQ be equated to nowadays?
What was it? MSN Messenger?
So MSN Messenger then progressed to it, but I don't even think that there's anything like that.
I feel like
now.
ICQ
This was before there was
like,
text. I guess it would almost be like a dating app,
like
for
Tinder.
Yeah, I guess it would be something.
She definitely used it for online dating, and I definitely would go on with my friends, and I would either pretend to be her, and like just off the wall, like whatever an 18-year-old who like maybe dabbled in would talk about with like random people on the internet, or I'd be like, "Are you my new dad? Can't wait to meet
the
you."
Rebel of the family.
Oh,
definitely. I'm the oldest, and I was like,
don't leave your chat open for me.
Yeah,
ever,
she would,
even today.
Yes.
So I was that little ray of sunshine to live with.
That was the dynamic of us for sure.
Yeah.
You would do that.
So I definitely catfished these people.
When we were growing up, I was the one that like, if I got punished, I would like cry and scream and like have a complete tantrum. But I never went against and broke the rules. Like I always stayed with the rules, and even today I'm still a rule breaker.
You're a
Melissa,
rule breaker?
or a rule stayer, like I don't. Melissa would stay silent. She wouldn't cry. She wouldn't be emotional. She wouldn't limp back or whatever. But she would break out of that house as fast as she wouldn't listen to a word you said. She would walk out, and that was just that was.
It's hard when there's like an emotionally fragile middle-aged woman like new to the dating game, and then there's like this jaded 18-year-old who doesn't give an F. Like, we were a fun pair.
Yeah, but you got through it. Made you stronger now, huh?
We did.
Speaking of making me stronger, my childhood trauma, and this actually would be a trauma that both actually Melissa and I suffered. So we're gonna go back to when our parents are still married.
Oh, this is the did we almost die?
I feel like that I'm normally the dramatic one. I'm gonna say we absolutely didn't almost die, but it was probably one of the most dramatic things that I've ever dealt with. So we have a brother who's in the middle. So there is 4 years between us. There's a brother, 2 years between us. So I don't know why we felt we had a station wagon, one of the old-fashioned station wagons. It was like yellow, butter yellow or whatever.
He was like a used car salesman in the way that he roped us into doing this.
So in the bottom of the station wagon, you could, because you would sit in the back because it was the 80s and that's what we did, but you could store your stuff.
There was wood paneling on the side.
There wasn't, not on ours. It was
Yes,
yellow.
it was.
No, you're not remembering it. It was butter yellow. So you could open the bottom.
We'll
like
insert
this.
a picture.
Where are we going to find the picture of our old?
I mean, you can find a picture of the model with the wood on the side.
But we didn't have wood on
We
the side of
definitely
ours.
did.
It didn't. Okay, we'll refer to Mom. We didn't.
Get her in the hot tub.
So, thing opens. Dad's home, Mom's not home.
Yeah.
Our brother and
This
his
is
friend.
what happens when dads are in charge. Just BTW, because I was how old? Like 3, and we were definitely on our own.
Yeah, we were outside, for sure. Yeah, because if you were
Pops
3,
was indoors.
then I was 7. Yeah, either that or you were 4 and I was 8. Something like that.
No, 4 is like, I think we moved around when I was 4.
Yeah.
So
Maybe you're right, 7 and 3. Okay.
Yeah.
So, I still have complete memory. So basically, that means that my brother is 5
And he's
years
the
old.
Mastermind
He's
here.
the mastermind. He's 5. And him and his friend are saying to us, just get in. Like, basically, we're going for street cred. You just need to get in. We're going to close it, and then we're going to open it right up.
Get
and then you're going to
into
be
the
cool.
Trunk.
Get into the bottom. Not even the trunk. This was like, here's the open area. Here's a thing. Here's, like, the rear well. Like, you know, when your trunk, like,
the wheel goes.
Yeah. This is what we're getting into. So I get in first. It took him a lot to. Oh, I just flew in.
So I feel like it took as much as it should have taken to get us in there.
It took a lot of convincing, but we finally got in there for some reason. I'm at the bottom. Melissa's on top of me. They close. This thing closes, and we're like, open it.
Because they're like, well, just close it.
We're gonna
for a
close it right
second.
down, and we're gonna open
Just
it
for
up.
a minute.
And we don't know. We don't. To this day, we don't know what his intentions are because as soon as, and we don't know. I don't think this was premeditated, but as soon as
he was 5, so probably not.
as soon as it closed, it locked. This was a lock. So now we are locked in on top of each other in this thing, and we are screaming. And you said that you thought there were snakes in there
Because I feel like there was a rope of some sort in there.
so we're screaming. We are locked in there. First, though, we have to get over our brother being scared to let us
Yeah,
out
because
he's gonna get in trouble.
yeah, like he definitely was not like get help.
No.
He was like panic.
Too afraid to get out.
How do I get out of this? If they just both pass, I'll be an only child.
I don't know if he went and got, or if people heard us screaming because Dad
Or
comes
maybe
out.
the friend was involved and he went and got someone. Who
Somebody
knows?
got Dad. Dad comes out.
Eventually, he was like, "Oh, those children I should be minding that are screaming."
Somehow
now."
Dad comes out to us, but guess what? Dad doesn't know where he comes out, realizes it's locked, doesn't know where the key is, can't find the key anywhere. So we are stuck in it, and I don't know to this day how long we were in there.
I feel
for.
like an hour has been thrown around.
I don't feel like we would have been in there an hour.
Because we would have died. Because this is a near-death experience.
I mean, I think we had air. Like, I'm pretty sure it wasn't tight.
Two
Like,
children
there was a crack.
in
It was
the
2
area
things.
of a
I mean,
wheel
it probably wasn't great. I don't think we were in there an hour. We couldn't have been. I'm sure Dad would not have let us be in there. They would have called the cops. Like, if they, I'm sure it was an hour. I do say 20 minutes. I would say 20 minutes would be it.
I
Anyway.
would think it would have taken at least 10 minutes for him to have gone and gotten help. at least 10 minutes to realize I can't get it open, to go and get help, and then to get Dad, and then Dad to come on out.
I can't.
At least I'd say 40 to an hour.
I don't think it was that long. I don't think for sure it was that long.
We'll have to insert a clip of us asking Dad.
We will have to ask them, and we will have to call them and ask.
Hello, everyone. So I did speak to our dad. He declined to appear on film, but he did have a limited recollection of the incident. He did tell me we should just ask our mom what happened, so that shows that he didn't even know he was in charge of us at the time. He couldn't say how long we were out there. He did confirm that it was the station wagon we had was yellow. It didn't have any wood on it. But then he also claimed it could have been a different car that we got locked in. He did say it was the wheel well. And he said that he was able to open it because there was like an escape latch of some sort. But he didn't seem to think it was a serious incident. He didn't know how long we were in there, and I guess he wasn't able to find a key, but there was some sort of like a latch that you could push, and it was like an emergency latch, and that's how we got out.
We did end up getting out, and one of the things that I remember was that we had subs for dinner, and it was a very somber dinner that night. I remember that, but it was.
What I remember is lifelong claustrophobia.
Crippling. Both of us have crippling claustrophobia. In fact, when we lived in that apartment building that we had spoken about, I think in the last episode, I used to walk up the stairs, and we lived on the fourth floor because I wouldn't even be in an elevator. I couldn't even be in an elevator. Yeah, we have crippling claustrophobia. Even to the point where it's even in crowds or anything. It's just like
I can't even watch when those people go on those little caves. I can't even watch those videos. Like, I can't understand why they're making those choices.
I remember Days of Our Lives had this huge segment, and in one of it was like somebody was buried alive. Ooh. And I just remember feeling that feeling, because it's the same feeling of having, because you were on top of me, but I remember the feeling of not being able to get of just doing this and not be. It's the worst.
It's the fear of not being able to get out of your situation.
It definitely,
that you're stuck in your situation.
Yeah, it definitely. I don't think that we almost died, but
I do feel like we almost died, because I definitely saw something where someone was like, I was locked in a freezer, and they're like, you almost died, and I'm like, I feel like my situation was worse.
Well, freezers are airtight, right? We had that, it was two things. There was definitely a gap. I don't think it was a lot of air, but I don't think that we were.
Two people trying to breathe that air.
Yeah. I don't know, but it was definitely.
Comment
that was
if
trauma.
you think we almost died.
That was trauma.
Comment if you've ever been locked in a wheel well, and how long it took you to get out. How bad's your trauma?
Yeah, that was it. So that's it for our hot tub time machine. Thanks for joining us again.
See you back at the tub.
Bye-bye.